Tat Sat. Welcome to Gyan Bhakti. We are currently exploring the scripture Mysticism of Srimad Bhagavatam. Commentary is by my worshipful Guruji, Swami Jyotirmayananda Ji Maharaj, narrated by myself, Swami Nikhilananda. And we have been discussing the episode of Krishna marries Rukmini. So let's start our satsang from there. Shishupal has a mighty force behind him. Go anywhere and you will find a world of glitter, a world of ostentatiousness. All materialistic forces are the forces of Shishupal, childish, wrong behavior, materialistic thoughts. When you feel great because you have put on a better cloth than someone else, or someone has given you a better seat to sit on, or lots of money has come into the bank account, or many people have begun to adore us, that is childishness. We start to feel superior for some reason. When we allow our feelings to flutter over things that fade and vanish, that is childishness. Human feeling is the aroma of a divine flower that should be offered to God. However, more often than not, it is being offered to petty and transient things. The human heart moves with such fervor over little names and forms, while the majestic reality behind all those names and forms, that is the divine self, does not excite the mind. As long as this predicament continues, there is ignorance, misery, repeated embodiments. There is childishness. The divine project is to steal feeling away from the clutches of the obstructive forces represented by Rukmi and Shishupal, and to allow Rukmini to marry her true beloved Krishna. As we advance in sadhana, spiritual discipline, our feeling and understanding becomes transformed. The moment there is purity of feeling, a message is sent out to the divine self. In response, God enters our heart and quickly kidnaps that feeling away from the clutches of the ego. A similar mystic insight was given when Krishna, as a small child, stole butter from the cowherd women. Whenever a gopi prepared fresh butter, Krishna would enter their home and stealthily eat that butter. The butter represents purified feelings or bhav in the heart of a devotee. As with the kidnapping of Rukmini, the implication is that when feeling has become purified, God will come into your heart stealthily. You do not have to worry about when or how God will come. Without telling you, at any moment, His presence will be felt, resounding within our heart as He enjoys the sweet taste of our sublime bhav, our pure devotion. Krishna allowed Rukmi to live, but only after humiliating him first. Mystically, this implies that ego should not be destroyed prematurely. It has to be there for a spiritual evolution to proceed. However, ego should be rendered submissive to divine movement and should not obstruct the transformation of feeling and understanding in an aspirant. Once our feeling has been wedded to God within us, such a submissive ego will never have the same hold over our heart. Like the humiliated Rukmi who could not return to his homeland, that ego which had previously dominated our feeling day and night from life to life will not come back to torment our heart anymore. When our soul becomes married to the divinity, our heart overflows with joy. All of Dwarka, our spiritual heart in which Krishna abides, celebrates with great delight and endless festivity. So let us move to the next episode. Pradyumna kills Shambasura and marries Rati. As time passed, all the Dwarka continued to delight in the marriage of Krishna and Rukmini, and soon the couple was blessed with a child named Pradyumna. However, shortly after his birth, Pradyumna was kidnapped by Shambhara, a terrible demon who threw him into the ocean to die. Shambhara did so because a prophecy warned him that the son of Krishna was destined to eventually destroy him. According to the divine plan, however, the moment Pradyumna sank into the ocean waters, a mighty fish swallowed him up. Then that fish was caught by a fisherman who brought to the palace of Shambhara, who, unaware of its contents, had the fish given to the kitchen staff to prepare for dinner. When the fish was cut up, to everybody's great surprise, there emerged the live baby and completely intact. Immediately, Mayavati, one of the maid servants of Shambasura, took charge of the infant. It was not by chance that Mayavati took charge of Pradyumna that day. Indeed, she had been secretly waiting in the palace of Shambhara for the eventual appearance of that special child. To better understand this, one must recall an episode in ancient times when Lord Shiva was practicing great austerity and profound meditation for a long time. Seeing the power of this austerity and fearing that Shiva would challenge his lordship, Indra, the celestial lord, became jealous. As a result, Indra appealed to the Cupid god Kamadeva to come and distract the mind of Shiva from his spiritual practices. Kamdeva, along with his myriad attendants who were masters of temptation, appeared before Shiva, exercising all their powers, presenting before Shiva all the things that excite the senses. During this performance by the Cupid god, Shiva happened to open his third eye. Seeing that mischievous Cupid god hiding behind some flowers, Shiva directed a beam of light from his third eye and burnt Kamadeva to ashes. This act upset the gods terribly because Kamadeva plays a great role in this world of struggle and evolution. Also, the grief-stricken Rati, wife of the Cupid god, offered emotional prayers to Shiva to bring back her husband. Finally, Shiva agreed to do so, but under a most unusual condition, Kamadeva would operate in this world, but in a subtle manner, without his body. However, when Vishnu incarnated as Krishna, Kamadeva would become embodied again as Krishna's son Pradyumna, and at that time Rati would be reunited with her husband. From that time, Rati waited for her husband to incarnate. She knew that somehow Pradyumna would mysteriously appear in the palace of Shambhara. So, disguised as Mayavati, an ordinary maidservant, she did various forms of manual work in service of that demon, waiting for Pradyumna's arrival. Thus, it was Mayavati who began to nourish the infant as soon as it emerged from the belly of that great fish. By divine grace, that little child grew up in only a month or so into a well developed young man who was the embodiment of beauty, a replica of Krishna himself. But Shambhara never realized who he really was. So we will continue this episode in tomorrow's satsang. Om Tat Sat.